Ni Tech na Msangi ya jishinde.com.
Welcome to day 12 of 30 days of AL, and today we are going to look at the JSON object. So when you look at Business Central or the Visual Studio development environment, we have a lot of usage, like the configuration files like the launch.json, app.json have been configured using a JSON format. That is a key value pair. Like here we have a version. This is the key and this is the value. Configurations here, this is the key and this is the value, which contains an array, meaning you can add another value here for a configuration. You can have more than one, and that's the power and the beauty of a JSON format, because you can present any kind of data in a format that can be consumed, that is uniform across applications. So it makes integration easy and very easy. So like the app.json contains the ID, the name, these are all keys, and this is the value, key value pairs, and you can move on, and this is an array of objects. So this is the key, but this is the value that contains an array of objects. So this is a JSON array. You could have even a value that contains an array of integers, depending on the data that you want to present. So today we are going to do and try and present a value that will contain an array of customers. Okay, it will present the customer detail plus the ledger entries of that particular customer, and the JSON object is a container for any well-formed JSON object. A default JSON object contains an empty JSON object. In my definition here, I am receiving, or the input to this is a customer record, and the output is a customer JSON object, which is a JSON object, and we have a customer ledger JSON object, which is a JSON array, and then we have a customer ledger, which defines the customer ledger entry, and then another customer ledger JSON object. But okay, the structure that we want to create is similar to this. We have our object here. I have opened it and closed it at this point. So let me just even create a more separation. So we'll have this particular customer, the number and the name, and then this ledger entry will be a key that will contain an array of values that will now fetch all the customer details and display them in an array of objects. So this is like value 1, and then the next one is value 2 and value 3, and so on and so forth. So let's get into it. Let's get started. The first thing is we have already gotten the customer detail. So the JSON object, remember, it's passed by value, or by reference. So we need to make sure that it's clear in the memory, and there is no value for this customer JSON object. That is our output. After that, now let's create. So it's so easy to create a JSON object. You just use the add. There are several methods that you can explore in the documentation, but for us to add this key for this particular functionality, we just use this customer JSON object dot add the key. The key should be the customer number. Just want to copy it, and the value will be the customer dot number, and we add another object for the customer name as the key, and the value will be the customer name. Okay, finally, what we need to add is the balance. Okay, I've not specified it here. The customer dot add the balance in local currency. So it will be the customer dot balance in local currency. But remember, this balance has not been calculated, so we just need to add a calc fields here for the balance in local currency for us to get the value. So we now have created this first part of the JSON object up to here, plus the balance. Now we need to move to the next part, that is creating this the ledger entry that will contain this JSON array, and the JSON array contains JSON objects inside it. So the first thing is to create all these JSON objects that are are supposed to be inside the array, and then after creating them, now we'll add them into the array. So the first thing here is to create the JSON array. So the cast ledger, no, is to fetch. The first thing is to fetch. We just need to fetch the customer ledger entry dot reset. Come on, and we get the range or the filter for only the customer number where this particular customer belongs, and then we set an auto calc fields because we need an amount that will be calculated from the customer ledger entry. And then if we find first, find set, not first, because we want to loop, then we repeat until this one is 0. Okay, so now we need to add the JSON object first before we reach into the array. So I'll clear the cast ledger JSON object here. So we're creating this JSON object. We are at this point now. We are creating this first, and then we will add it to this array. So the first thing is to create this, and it's created dynamically, so it will be as many values as possible depending on the customer that we are working with. Okay, so this particular JSON object, the format is the same. We just add, first of all, the document number. That will be the cast ledger dot document number, and then we'll have something here like the posting date, and it will be the customer ledger dot posting date. Description probably ledger entry dot description will give us the cast ledger dot description. There we are. And finally, we need to add the amount, which will be the customer ledger entry dot amount, which we have already calculated and have fetched it. And now we add now this record or this object to this array. We want it to add it to the array, and our array is known as the customer ledger entry JSON array, and we add now this particular object for the customer ledger entry. Once we have added the object into this, remember it will add the objects from the array in as many customers that are fetched from the system. And after adding the objects, we will finally add this particular array into, we'll create now in our original customer JSON object. We now need to add the array as a key value pair. So we have now the customer dot add this particular ledger entry as the array. So at this point, we are creating the array of objects. It's like saying one-to-many relation for this particular customer. And at this point, we are adding the ledger entry to the array. And again, so when you have such a record, it's good to give the consumer everything. And if they want to filter, they can filter on their side. So let's now do a test of our application and see if because I'm messaging out this particular function. Remember, this object has been set as an output. It will automatically be output when I click on the message out of that particular object. We have not set any breaking point. Could have done that. I still can, so that you can monitor. There we are with our breakpoint, debugging breaking point, so that you can see the generation or how the progress will be. allow me to log in. After logging in, I'll need to search for customers first. After searching for customers, then I will now initiate the message to display the customer ledger entry object. So the next thing here is to search for customers. Here are the customers, and we have a process here that will display the ledger entries, or the get customer detail. That is what it's being called. And the customer here, we have this customer detail, and I believe it should be having something here in our debugger. Okay. The debugger has not yet loaded. Okay, there we are. So I have got the balance after doing the calc fields on here. Let's look at this particular object, customer, the value of customer JSON object. So as at now, we have these values, the customer number, customer name, before adding the balance. So if we add the balance again and query it again, customer JSON object, we have now the balance set to that. And now, remember, this object is being formed. Let's proceed. Now we want to add the second part, which is now the customer detail with the array. Okay. Once I add this customer ledger JSON array, let me preview that. Okay, so it's time to preview this customer ledger JSON array, and it has these values. There is a document number, posting date, description, and the amount that we posted. And if I move forward, let me move forward. This is value 1. It only has one value. So I have added value 2, and if I preview it again, ledger JSON array, we now have the JSON array having 2 values. Okay, you can see there is the posting date and a description of annual payments and another descriptions annual payments charge. So we are populating this particular array. So let me toggle the breakpoint here and continue so that we can now see once we add, what happens when you add now this in totality. When we step over, we have our array in full here already, customer ledger JSON array. It has all the values. We are only now adding them into this main JSON the main object and displaying them here at the end. So let me just step over, and now we will preview our customer JSON object, and it has all the values populated. So we can even be able to track the way we are adding our object into the JSON. And let's proceed and see the message. And this is our JSON object that we have created dynamically based on the customer that we have filtered. So meaning if we select another customer here, the values will definitely be different. Let me try somebody like this and see whatever they have. Under customer detail, and then continue. So we have, they don't have any ledger entry. This particular customer doesn't have entries, and this is how their record is displayed. So every customer will have a different display based on the values that they have. I think that's it for this video. I hope you will be able to easily create your JSON objects. But the most important thing is to understand the structure, because once you understand the structure, you can be will be able to visualize what you are doing as you create your JSON object. Okay, my voice has been quite off because I'm having a little bit of a cold, but I hope it has been a bit clear. And thank you for watching the video. I will see you in day, that should be day 13 of 30 days of AL.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so that you don't miss the next one.